There is a specific kind of loneliness that comes from being surrounded by your own blood, yet feeling like a stranger in a foreign land. You look at family photos, and while you see your face among them, you do not see your spirit. You feel like a puzzle piece that was forced into the wrong box. No matter how much you filed down your edges, no matter how much you tried to reshape yourself to fit the empty space they offered, you never quite clicked into place. You were always too loud or too quiet, too sensitive or too cold, too much or not enough. You were the anomaly. You were the problem. You were the black sheep. In the theater of the dysfunctional family, roles are assigned before the children are even born. There is often the golden child, the one who can do no wrong, the one who carries the parents' hopes and dreams. There is the invisible child, who learns to disappear to survive. And then there is you, the scapegoat, the vessel into which the family pours all their toxicity, their shame, and their unaddressed pain. Being the black sheep is not a behavior, it is an assignment. You might have been told that you were difficult, rebellious, or bad from a very young age. But if you look closely at the history, you will likely find that your badness was simply a refusal to participate in the family's lies. You were the one who pointed out the elephant in the room. You were the one who didn't laugh at the cruel joke. You were the one who noticed when things didn't add up. And for this crime of seeing the truth, you were punished. The psychological mechanism behind this is called projection. In a healthy family, parents process their own emotions. In a dysfunctional family, parents cannot handle their own shame, insecurity, or anger. These feelings are too painful for them to hold, so they look for a container. They look for somewhere to dump this emotional toxic waste so they can feel clean again. And they choose you. They project their own flaws onto you. If a narcissistic father feels weak, he accuses his son of being weak. If an insecure mother feels jealous, she accuses her daughter of being attention-seeking. You become the living, breathing screen upon which they project their own shadow. And because you are a child, dependent on them for survival, you believe them. You accept the projection. You think, I must be bad. I must be the reason this family is so unhappy. If I could just fix myself, maybe they would love me. This sets up a devastating cycle of trying and failing. You spend your childhood and perhaps your early adulthood auditioning for the role of good family member. You twist yourself into knots trying to please them. You achieve great things hoping for applause, but receive only silence or criticism. You help them in crises, hoping for gratitude, but are treated with contempt. You cannot win because the game is rigged. They do not need you to be good. They need you to be the problem. If you are not the problem, then they might have to look at themselves, and that is the one thing they are terrified to do. You became the distraction. Whenever the tension between your parents got too high, whenever the family secrets threatened to spill out, the spotlight would turn to you. Look what he did. Look how she is acting. Suddenly, the family is united again, bonded by their shared frustration with you. You saved them from their own destruction by becoming the lightning rod for their chaos. You sacrificed your peace to maintain theirs. This creates a deep, agonizing wound in the psyche, the belief that you are fundamentally unlovable. You grow up believing that love is conditional and that you do not meet the conditions. You believe that belonging is something other people get to experience, but not you. You walk through the world with a sense of exile, looking for a home you never had, suspecting that there is something deeply, intrinsically wrong with you that makes people leave. But here is the first truth you must absorb. You were not the black sheep because you were bad. You were the black sheep because you were strong. It takes a tremendous amount of spirit to reject a toxic system. It takes a powerful light to irritate people who prefer the dark. You were not rejected because you had no value. You were targeted because you had too much. You were the one they couldn't control. You were the one who wouldn't submit to the dysfunction. You are not the problem. You are the symptom of their problem. You are the canary in the coal mine, gasping for air to warn everyone else that the environment is poisonous. But instead of listening to the warning, they blamed the bird for dying. As the black sheep grows, The family dynamic often tightens around them like a noose. The psychological term for this is triangulation. This is when family members do not speak directly to each other to resolve conflicts. Instead, they use a third person to bypass the tension. You become the conduit. Your mother complains to you about your father. Your father complains to you about your siblings. Your siblings are told stories about how difficult you are. The family creates a narrative, a story where you are the villain and they are the long-suffering victims of your behavior. This narrative is protected at all costs. This is why, when you try to defend yourself, you are met with gaslighting. Gaslighting is the systematic denial of your reality. When you say, "That hurt my feelings," they say, "You're too sensitive." When you remember a painful event, they say, "That never happened," or "You're imagining things." When you try to set a boundary, they say, "You're so selfish." Over time, this erodes your trust in your own mind. You start to question your sanity. You wonder, am I the crazy one? Maybe I am difficult. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. This self-doubt is the glue that holds the dysfunctional family together. As long as you are doubting yourself, you will not leave. And as long as you do not leave, they have their scapegoat. They need you to stay, but they need you to stay broken. The tragedy is that the black sheep often has the most empathy in the family. You feel things deeply. You absorb the moods of the house. Because you are hyper-aware of the emotional undercurrents, a survival skill you learned early on, you try to fix things. You become the therapist, the mediator, the fixer. You try to explain your parents to each other. You try to soothe the angry outbursts. You pour your energy into the black hole of their needs, hoping that if you can just make them happy, they will finally stop attacking you. But the bucket has a hole in it. No amount of love, logic, or service can fill a void created by generational trauma. And often, your empathy is weaponized against you. They know you care, so they use your guilt to manipulate you. "After everything we did for you," they say, "you're breaking your mother's heart." They pull on the strings of your goodness to keep you tied to their toxicity. This creates a state of chronic fight or flight in your nervous system. You are always waiting for the attack. You are always walking on eggshells. Even when things are calm, you are anxious because you know the calm is just the eye of the storm. Your body learns that safety is not real. Your body learns that connection equals pain. In adulthood, this often manifests as a difficulty in trusting others. If the people who were supposed to love you the most, your parents, could turn on you, who can be trusted? You might find yourself testing people, pushing them away before they can hurt you. Or conversely, you might become a people pleaser, terrified of conflict, apologizing for your existence, trying to ensure that no one ever gets mad at you again. You might also struggle with authority figures. Because your first experience with authority, your parents, was unjust and punitive, you might feel an instinctive rebellion or a paralyzing fear when dealing with bosses, teachers, or anyone in power. You expect to be unfair. You expect to be blamed. But perhaps the most insidious effect is the internalization of the inner critic. The voices of your critical parents eventually move inside your own head. You no longer need them to be in the room to feel judged. You do it to yourself. You berate yourself for small mistakes. You hold yourself to impossible standards of perfectionism, believing that if you are perfect, you will finally be safe. But perfectionism is just a shield, and it is heavy. It keeps you from being seen, and it keeps you from being loved for who you actually are. The scapegoat often carries the burden of the shadow. In psychology, the shadow represents the parts of ourselves we deny or hide. A family has a shadow too. All the secrets, the addictions, the failures, the cruelties that the family refuses to acknowledge, they don't just disappear. They are projected onto you. You are carrying the emotional baggage of generations. You are acting out the pain that your grandfather refused to feel, the rage your mother suppressed, the shame your father hid. You are the psychic trash can for the lineage.
This is a heavy cross to bear. It is exhausting. It leads to depression, anxiety, and complex trauma. You feel tired in your bones. You feel a heaviness that sleep cannot cure. This is the weight of carrying a burden that was never yours to carry.
As you move into the adult world, the curse of the black sheep follows you, often in the form of repetition compulsion. Without realizing it, you seek out environments and relationships that feel familiar. And to a scapegoat, what feels familiar is being undervalued, misunderstood, and blamed. You might find yourself in a workplace where you do all the work but get none of the credit, or where a toxic boss targets you just like your parents did. You might attract friends who are narcissistic, who talk only about themselves and make you feel small. You might enter romantic relationships with partners who are emotionally unavailable, critical, or controlling. You do this not because you like suffering, but because your subconscious is trying to win the old struggle. You think, unknowingly, if I can get this critical boss to praise me or this cold partner to love me, then I will finally prove to my family that I am worthy. You are trying to rewrite the ending of your childhood story using new actors, but the script remains the same. You end up hurt, confused, and asking, why does this keep happening to me? This is the trap of the familiar hell. We often prefer a hell we know to a heaven we don't. Being treated with genuine respect and kindness can actually feel uncomfortable to a black sheep. It feels suspicious. It feels boring. It feels undeserved. Your nervous system is wired for chaos and defense, so peace feels like a threat. You might even self-sabotage healthy relationships because you were waiting for the other shoe to drop. You provoke a fight just to get it over with, just to return to the familiar state of conflict. Another struggle for the adult black sheep is the crisis of identity. If you spent your whole life being told you were the difficult one, the mess, or the failure, you might start to identify with those labels. You might engage in self-destructive behaviors to fulfill the prophecy. If they think I'm bad, I might as well be bad. You might struggle with addiction, underachievement, or chaotic lifestyle choices simply because you were never given a vision of yourself as a healthy, successful person. Or you might go the other way. You might become a high achiever, driven by a desperate need to prove them wrong. You work yourself to the bone. You gather degrees, money, and accolades. You become successful on paper, but inside you still feel like a fraud. You feel like that scared little child waiting to be yelled at. No amount of external success can heal the internal wound of rejection. You are running a race where the finish line keeps moving because you are running for validation from people who are incapable of giving it. The black sheep also suffers from a profound sense of isolation. Because you see the truth of the family dysfunction, and others, including siblings, pretend it isn't there, you feel like you're living in a different reality. This can make you crazy. It is a lonely thing to be the only one who remembers the abuse, the only one who acknowledges the pain. You might watch your siblings play along with the fantasy of the parents, and you feel betrayed. How can they not see it? Why did they leave me to face it alone? This betrayal by siblings is a unique kind of heartbreak. The golden child often aligns with the parents to protect their own status. They might join in the bullying or gaslighting to ensure they don't become the next target. The invisible child might stay silent to avoid attention. You are left standing alone in the clearing, taking the arrows for everyone. However, there is a hidden power in this isolation. Because you never fit in, you were never fully indoctrinated. The golden child is often more damaged in the long run because they are enmeshed. They lose their identity completely to the parents' expectations. They become puppets. But you were pushed out. And because you were pushed out, you have a chance to walk away. You have a chance to find out who you are separate from the hive mind. Your badness was actually your independence. Your rebellion was actually your survival instinct.
The very traits that made you a pariah in your family are the traits that can make you a powerful, authentic adult. You value truth. You have a radar for injustice. You are resilient. You know how to survive alone. These are superpowers forged in the fire of your childhood. The pain you feel is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are waking up. The depression is your soul saying, I will not play this role anymore. The anxiety is your body saying, this environment is not safe. You are beginning to outgrow the small box they put you in.
The path to healing for the black sheep begins with a radical act. You must stop going to the hardware store for milk. You keep going back to your family, hoping that this time they will understand, this time they will apologize, this time they will see you. But they don't sell milk at the hardware store. Your family does not have the emotional capacity to give you what you need. They are spiritually bankrupt. Accepting this is heartbreaking, but it is also liberating. When you accept that they cannot change, you stop trying to change them and you start focusing on saving yourself. This often leads to the difficult decision of distance. For some, this means strict boundaries. For others, it means low contact, limiting visits, keeping conversations superficial, protecting your energy. And for some, the only path to survival is no contact, walking away completely. Society will judge you for this. People who come from healthy families will say, but it's your mother, or family is everything. They do not understand. They do not know that for the scapegoat, the family is not a sanctuary, it is a war zone. Saving yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. As you step away, you will face grief. You are not just grieving the loss of your family, you are grieving the hope that they would ever be the family you deserved. You are grieving the childhood you didn't have. Let this grief come. Cry for the little version of you who stood alone in the hallway. Validate their pain. Tell them, I believe you. It wasn't your fault. You didn't deserve that. You must also do the work of deprogramming. You have to identify the lies they planted in your head. I'm unlovable. I'm selfish. I'm trouble. Replace these lies with your own truth. You are not unlovable. You were unloved by people who didn't love themselves. You are not selfish. You have needs, which is human. You are not trouble. You are a truth teller. You will need to build a chosen family. Since you were not born into a tribe that accepted you, you must create one. Look for people who feel safe. Look for people who can handle conflict without attacking your character. Look for people who celebrate your success instead of envying it. These people exist, and when you find them, you will realize how easy love is supposed to be. You will realize that you don't have to perform or beg to be included. This journey transforms you from the scapegoat into the cycle breaker. The dysfunction stops with you. If you have children, you will not project your shame onto them. You will see them for who they are. You will apologize when you are wrong. You will break the chain of pain that has stretched back for generations. This is a heroic act. It is the hardest work a human being can do. The black sheep is often the most evolved soul in the family. You were the one chosen to wake up. You were the one strong enough to bear the darkness so that you could eventually find the light. The rejection was a protection. It pushed you out of the toxic nest so that you could learn to fly on your own wings. You are no longer defined by their narrative. You hold the pen now. You can write a story where you are the hero, not the villain. A story of resilience, of courage, and of profound, hard-won freedom. You are free. You made it out. Now go live the life they tried to steal from you.